Hi, I'm Gary Yamamoto, and today I want to talk to you about my new swimming jig head. It's been in development for about a year. This is the final outcome of what we are producing today. There'll be various sizes from 1/16 of an ounce to 5/16 of an ounce, and in hook sizes from 2/0 to 5/0. It can be used with our previous baits like the Senkos. I've got some new designs on the slim Senko and all the cut tails. There's one new double tail and a new single tail. I just extended the body so that we could Texas rig it a lot better.
This is the most fantastic jig head I've seen. We call it like shaky head. And why it's so superior in my mind, Gary, is that you designed this with a hook tie right up in the front. That allows it a straight pull right through the weeds, right through the grass. It's more weedless and it comes through the cover without getting snagged. The second thing about this jig head, it has the longer hook, and it allows it to be rigged Texas style. Now, being rigged Texas style allows it to be weedless. Now, most of the other previous jig heads had an exposed hook. Now, with the longer shank, you can rig it Texas style in a far more weedless thing. The third thing that Gary did that I really like is he spread the weight out a little bit farther on the shaft of the jig, and that makes for a more horizontal fall. And also coming through the fish's mouth. It comes through the fish's mouth a lot easier this way. And the last thing you did, hey, you used that chemically sharpened, really sharp and strong Yamamoto hook.
Well, that's one of the things that we've done ever since we started. So we've been in connection with Yamamoto for many, many years, and so that was just an ideal choice.
Well, now, Gary, you were teaching me a lot about how to fish. What's your main? What are you trying to accomplish here when you fish?
Well, the popularity of what the industry calls shaky head fishing, or we used to call it finesse fishing, or whatever it is. But the baits that we're using today, and we're using light line and competition as well as for catching more fish, we found that I find that as I go older also, I don't want to swing that bait casting rod, so I can flip this thing over with a spinning tackle. And I've experimented with spinning rods. This new one here that you're holding has a special type of guides on there that we can use braided line.
Well, that braided line, to me, I'm doing a lot of red fishing, and by the way, folks, the shaky head concept is great for redfish and saltwater. It allows you great sensitivity. I mean, and that's the thing about finesse fishing. You need the sensitivity because you just a little tick in this cold weather, and sometimes you don't even feel anything. And then the last thing is really a great idea that you have the hook set. You could just set the hook even in a long cast.
Oh yeah, that's the beauty. When you get that long cast and you're able to set that hook. And I think some of the things that we sometimes miss, Roland, is that there's so much economy in this thing. It doesn't twist up your line.
That's another. You were mentioning that. That's a big plus, and Gary really picked up on the fact that the super lines like the Power Pros, they'll twist, but it doesn't affect the cast in any way.
Right. It's absorbing it into the line, and it doesn't affect us.
Right.
And here, I'm using a 10-pound braided line.
Okay.
But I can have a 12-pound leader.
Sure.
So when you're finding that fish close and you got them in close, you've got 12 pounds of effective.
What I do for my red fishing, for example, in saltwater, I might have a little bit heavier leader, like up to 20, but I still might have that 10-pound super line, like that Power Pro. And this is just a perfect combination. Now, another thing that Gary has really picked up on, because you've done a lot of down shotting and a lot of shaky head fishing, and that is almost your vertical jigging concept. Now, you might explain how you fish.
Well, the thing is, when we're fishing this thing straight down, and we've got all these Lowrance electronics now, and we can see everything we're seeing on the bottom. You can see that fish, and just dropping it down and picking it up and down.
So about half the time, and I've watched Gary, and I've fished with Gary quite extensively. Half the time he'll say, "Look, Roland, I see one on the locator." He'll just drop it straight over the side of the boat and just sit there. And this shaky head, it's got the name because here's what Gary's doing. He's shaking that tip just like this. He's just shaking that thing and it's right in front of the fish, and it's a horizontal shake. The lure is kind of horizontal in the water and just shaking around, and that's shaky head fishing.
Right. And one other thing that's real important is that you and I, as pro bass fishermen, sometimes we like to flip, and we just set that hook hard. You can't do that with this thing. You just let him bite and tighten up the drag or tighten up the tension on that rod. And as the fish moves away, he hooks himself.
That's the beautiful part about the way that hook is set up and the low profile, the thin profile of the hook itself. It comes right through. If it was a great big ball, it would kind of open
like
the
that
fish's
1
mouth.
1 ounce jighead that we used to
open his
use.
mouth up, and then you wouldn't get the hook set that you get with this thin profile that you
Right.
have here. But what I noticed in the wintertime, you don't feel the strike. A lot of times you just feel something heavy and you just sweep.
Yeah, just
set.
sweep set.
You don't really set the hook, you just sweep it. Now, how many different sizes do you have available right now?
Oh, it starts off at 1/16 of an ounce.
And this is 1/8. That's probably the
1/8.
most popular.
That's between these two is probably the most popular. Then you go up to 3/16, a quarter, and 5/16.
Now, it's been my experience in those heavy weights like the quarter and 5/16. In the real deep water with maybe a lot of current and a lot of wind, you might need that. But when you can, I don't like to use those heavy weights, only when I have to. So I'm going to really, my choice is going to be the 16th and the 8th. So folks, if you want a truly effective, easy to use, great new lure, try Gary Yamamoto's swimming jig head.